Have you heard someone talking about power pumping and wondering if it's something you should be doing? You've come to the right place. In this video, I'm going to teach you about what power pumping is, why people do it, and if it's something you should consider. I'll also share a couple of different ways to do it so you can find one that works for your specific situation. But before we get started, be sure to go down to the description for the video and sign up for my free pumping guide. This has a ton of great resources in it to help you have a peaceful and successful breastfeeding journey. Now let's jump in. So what is power pumping? It's a focused method to signal to your body to produce more breast milk in a similar way that cluster feeding at the breast tells your body to make more milk. It can help with low milk supply, sudden drops in milk supply, or times when you feel like you just need a little bit more milk. It can be useful for building a small freezer stash if that's a goal for you. And again, just a tool to help combat those ups and downs of milk supply that some of us experience. With that said, it is not something that everybody has to do right off the bat, and it may not be the right option for everybody. It's really important to determine if you have low supply, and if you do, what that causes before you start to do more and more pumping. However, I have seen this as an effective tool for many moms to boost their supply. And the good news is you don't have to wait very long to see if it is an effective tool for you. Generally, I will say that after about 3 days, you should see at least some improvement if power pumping is going to work for you. If you don't see any improvement at all, you definitely want to revisit with your lactation consultant to make sure there's not something else going on, or if maybe you could adjust your pumping session a little bit. There's a couple of different ways that you can do power pumping. The most common is where you take a block of time, about an hour, and you pump for either 10 minutes on and 10 minutes off, or 20 minutes on and then 10 minutes on, 10 minutes off, 10 minutes on, 10 minutes off, etc. for an hour. And when I say on and off, that means pumping and then resting, pumping and then resting. A lot of people like to do this one, especially at night, maybe after their baby's already gone to bed, and they just sit back, watch some Netflix, and enjoy their time with their pump. However, some people find this to be really monotonous and just tend to dread it. So another method that you can do is taking a 3-hour chunk of time during the day and pumping for 10 minutes at the top of each hour. This can also be effective because it's getting in more of that stimulation, and I feel like it's more similar to a baby that's cluster feeding, because when a baby's cluster feeding, they are just nursing generally for shorter period of times closer together. Both of these methods can be beneficial. I personally just like to do the 10 minutes on, 10 minutes off for 60 minutes. It makes it super simple. While you're doing this, make sure you have some snacks, stay hydrated with some good quality electrolytes, and just try to relax. The goal of power pumping is not to get a huge quantity of milk. It's just a signal to your body that you want it to make more milk. So don't be surprised if at the end of the pumping session, you don't have tons of milk in your bottles. A lot of people wonder when the best times to power pump are. Personally, I think earlier in the morning, or at least before about 11 a.m. or so, is a great time. The reason for this is because your prolactin is higher at this time, and you have more of a chance of boosting that prolactin to set the stage for the rest of the day. However, I know this is not the most convenient time for most people. Your baby's awake, you might be going to work, there's just a lot of things going on. So it's generally not the time most people choose. What I find most people choose is shortly after their baby goes to bed, when they are about to have a longer stretch of time with their baby sleeping. This will give you a little bit of a boost going into the night and to help counteract your baby sleeping a little bit longer. At the end of the day, you just need to find a time when you can relax and focus and not be interrupted. And there's always going to be a time of day that might be better than others, but what I want you to do is just to focus on getting that stimulation in. So some tips for successful power pumping. One is just to make it a comfortable, relaxing experience. I don't know too many people that just love and look forward to their pumping sessions. And when you're doing it for an hour, even if it's just for 30 minutes on and off, that can be kind of exhausting. So just make it fun. Find a TV series that you enjoy. I'll put an Instagram post below where I put some of the most popular series to binge watch while you're breastfeeding. Have a special snack that you only have during that time. Listen to music or a fun podcast. Just make it enjoyable and try not to stress. This can be a great thing to do with a wearable pump or with a more portable pump like the Baby Buddha. The Spectra is great, but it can be more difficult to power pump with, especially if you feel like you need to get up and go around. This is one of those few times that I think a wearable pump might be a good option. As with all pumping, make sure you have the right flange size. If you've been around here long, you know that I am very passionate about helping you get the right flange size. If you need help, be sure to sign up for fuss-free flange fitting, which I will link to below. And then of course, address underlying issues. As I mentioned earlier, the last thing I want you to do is to start pumping or power pumping more throughout the day. It hurts my heart when I work with a mom who said, I've been pumping every single hour and doing 2 power pumping sessions a day, and my milk supply is so low. Come to find out that there was an underlying reason that no amount of pumping would have fixed. So it's important to address the underlying reason before you see if this is an option for you. And finally, you want to be consistent. Try and do this for 3 to 4 days in a row before you call it quits to see if your body is responding. It can take up to about 14 days to see the full results, but you should see some movement within a few days. If you're not seeing any results within 3 to 4 days, then you may want to revisit what your approach to this is. There's some different feelings on power pumping out there, and I've seen some people raise some good arguments against it. However, in my practice, I have seen it be an effective tool for some moms, and I think it's valuable to know how to do it. I would love to see you in my class, Fuss-Free Pumping, I would love to see you in one of my classes, either fuss-free pumping or fuss-free milk supply, or even both. These are great resources for helping you to navigate these unique situations. And in fuss-free milk supply, I even have a milk supply self-assessment to help you figure out what might be going on with your supply. If either of those sound interesting, just check them out in the description below. If you have any questions about power pumping, drop them below and I would be happy to answer them. Either way, hit the subscribe button and I'll see you next time.